Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Marquette. We're so glad you're with us today to stay curious. We're celebrating a big day Sunday when a piece of an asteroid comes back to Earth. That's what this is all about. That's the spacecraft OSIRIS-REx and an artist rendering of an asteroid that's just a quarter mile across called Bennu. Reminds me of those Benny boxes that you get at a Japanese or Chinese place. What they call those Benno boxes. Yeah. Well, it's Asteroid Benny. And who's going to straighten me out today is Marty Winkle, my co-producer. Marty, how you doing today?
Doing good, Mark. How are you?
Great. Talking to us on your UCX family microphone. You got your son Jeff in the studio today. And great to have you here, Jeff. He lives in North Carolina on the border up there with Tennessee and Weaverville. That's where all you get your space patches from AB Emblem in Weaverville. We know them well up there. So good to have you in here, Jeff. Your dad and I have had a blast doing this. Though we fought like brothers a couple times, we've done this for into our fourth year, and it's just amazing that you are enjoying Stay Curious. And we want to let you know that to keep enjoying Stay Curious, we're having a fund drive and we're having an auction. It'll be 2 weeks from this Saturday, October 7th. Astronaut Woody Spring has a lot of his collection in there. Robin's flown medals are in there. These are silver or gold. A lot of Apollo relics. You can actually get a piece of mylar that would have been on the moon had Marty not had to cut it out and replace it because of something he had to do. Um, Marty? What was that? Well, I'm not gonna get into that. What was the piece of mylar off of there?
There's two of them. One off of Apollo. Sorry. Um, gosh, LEM
Apollo
10.
17.
Apollo 17, which is LEM 12, and that was the Mylar came from the IMU replacement. IMU is the inertial measurement unit, and we had to replace it just a week before launch. And we had to cut the Mylar away, and then we had to put new blankets on there.
We showed you that yesterday, and that is available should go for $200 or $300. Could get in a bid more. There's the QR code to start seeing it and making your pre-bids now. We will feature that, of course. Spend one day looking at some of these fabulous items. Over 350 items up for sale, and this is a huge money maker for our museum. We are also going to kick off a Galaxy of Giving campaign in November, where we've done this before, created a constellation out of your $25 or more donations to help us out. There's the QR code to our portholes to get your tax-deductible donation from our U.S. Spacewalk of Fame Foundation, which for 25 years has been preserving the birth of America's space age right here in its cradle, Brevard County, Florida. We're very proud of that. And a way to give money on this YouTube channel is that thanks button. Now, that thanks button does not pop up during the live broadcast we're noticing, but any broadcast that you go that's already been up there, there's over 400 Stay Curious episodes up there of our 895th episode today, believe it or not. Hit that thanks button. You can give us from $2 to $500 at the click of your mouse there. And we are going to, those that give us more than $100, we're going to send you something in kind here from our museum, some sort of memorabilia that we have. So, well, everybody, it is the first day of autumn this Saturday night, 2:50 a.m. So that's Friday night. So you wake up tomorrow, and it's 12 hours sunrise lights, 12 hours sunset. So it's about 8 o'clock in the morning for sunrise, 8 o'clock for sunset. Equinox means equal day and equal night in Latin. And there's a little chart there to show you that the Earth is tilted. That's why we have the seasons. My analogy is we're getting direct hot rays during the summertime in the northern hemisphere. They haven't been doing that down there in Australia, in Pomona, Australia, where my buddy Cliff Watson is. Good brekkie to you, buddy, down there in Australia, where it's Saturday morning. So anyway, autumn changes, and I know it's a favorite time of year to many people up north as they see the autumn leaves change. So enjoy that. Well, we got some birthdays going on, Marty, and let me put my spectacles on here. We got a birthday today of an astronaut that did one mission. This is Robert Bobby Satcher. He was born September 22nd, 1965, in Hampton, Virginia, a graduate of Denmark Olar High School in Denmark, South Carolina, where he grew up. So born in Hampton, Virginia, but grew up in South Carolina in the Denmark community. He did a spacewalk, 2 spacewalks on STS-129. Bobby Satcher is the first orthopedic surgeon in space, all right? And that's what he's doing now at the University of Texas. He is a professor at their School of Cancer, the bone cancer place there, orthopedic oncology. And so good for him. There he is in space. Happy 58th birthday to Bobby Satcher there. STS-129 was a hard hat mission at the space station. And tomorrow we've got a guy that Marty knows, has met a few times. That is happy 79th birthday to Shuttle Commander Lauren Shriver. 3-time space shuttle flyer Lauren Shriver was born September 23rd, 1944 in Jefferson, Iowa. And a marathon runner. There he is in space. Famous picture of him eating these M&Ms in space, but you don't call them that in NASA speak, okay? These are candy-coated chocolates in NASA speak, okay? But you see that picture all over the place. Astronauts love those Skittles. They demonstrate weightlessness as well as they're, of course, delicious to eat. One of our early astronauts selected in 1978. He deployed as a pilot the Hubble Space Telescope on STS-31. He was a pilot he commanded. Slap me around, Marty, there. He commanded the Hubble release in 1931, or not STS-31 in 1990. 51C, I'm trying to spit out, was a Department of Defense mission, his first one. That's why I can't, is the Department of Defense won't let me say it. And STS-46 was his final one. We love talking about the 1996 Olympics where Lauren Shriver carried the torch up there. But look at here, Marty Winkle actually lit the flame there with NASA Administrator Dan Golden watching that on Sunday afternoon, July 7th, 1996, Marty. And your son is just as handsome as you are here. Look at that well-fit gentleman there. Marty, did you singe your eyebrows?
No, Mark, I was far enough away where that did not happen.
Well, what an honor. Say a little bit about that. We talk about it once in a while, but I love an opportunity to talk about it. Who are those people behind you? And
Like I said, it's Dan Golden. The guy behind the flame is actually Weldon, Dave Weldon. He's a senator from Florida. The other people, I'm sorry, I do not remember who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Although I think the one to the right, I'm not sure. I don't want to.
Well, that's an unusual picture. I've seen several of you doing this, and I happened to find that. But of course, you're going to see Coca-Cola because it was the Atlanta World's Fair Olympics. Did you happen to go to Atlanta and see any of it, Marty? Just a question.
No, I would have liked to have gone, but no, I did not go.
Okay. Anyway, quite an elaborate setup there and all. And this was out near a shuttle pad, or?
This occurred at the visitor center.
Okay, visitor center. Awesome. Yeah. Well, we love sharing that. Happy sharing the spotlight. Marty Winkle here, my co-producer through our Stay Curious history here. Born out of the pandemic, and he and I really have latched on to this program. And Marty does as a volunteer, and we're very grateful for his time that he gives this museum. He not only gives time, he also donates money through various organizations he helps, as well as personally. So thanks, Marty. Well, I wanted to just remember that 50 years ago, we've got the second crew of the America's first space station, Skylab, up there. Those are the guys on the lower left there. Al Bean, Owen Garriott, and still alive is Jack Lousma. And Jack Lousma was taking this picture, Marty, when Owen Garriott and Moonwalker um, uh, Alan Bean had to do a spacewalk. And why they have to do a dangerous spacewalk on the Skylab 50 years ago in 1973? To change out the film roll on their solar camera. All right, and there was big spools of film that was taken, pictures of the sun. That was 30% of their mission time, was photographing the sun, a big solar mission that we learned a lot 50 years ago about our star up there. So we're going to revisit this as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of Skylab. And Jack Lousma, Marty's met him many times. I've met him. What a great guy, and we wish him well as he's thinking about being in space 50 years ago. Well, in 1972, all right, a little over 50 years ago, this is an artist rendering of the first alien soil harvested on the moon by the Russian Luna 16 spacecraft. Luna 15 was trying to beat Apollo 11 to the moon and do this scoop up. Well, this happened in 1970. I said 72. I'm wrong. It's 70. All right. And we'd already brought back soil from Apollo 11 and Apollo 12 in November 69. But this was the third time and the first automated where the Russian landed, scooped it up. On top is a mini spacecraft that was launched and landed on Earth. So that was done in 1970. Well, we're anxiously waiting for a piece of an asteroid to come back to Earth. Meanwhile, there is a satellite. Oh, there's the soil that the Soviet news agency TASS let us see. But this is a spacecraft called Varda. The Varda spacecraft is stuck in orbit because of paperwork that will not allow it to land. Now let me get my Varda. After manufacturing crystals for an HIV/AIDS drug in space, the first orbital factory is stuck in orbit after being denied re-entry back to Earth due to safety concerns. All right. A U.S. Air Force has denied a request from Varda Space Industries to land its in-space manufacturing capsule at a Utah training area, while the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration did not grant permission either. So this is it's paperwork, quite frankly, and I'm going to get into that in a minute as we're looking at this artist rendering that's behind me of the OSIRIS-REx spacecraft that will land that little cone capsule on top of it early Sunday morning. We're looking forward to that. Well, let's get into this Varda. All right, Varda. Where is this tech company? I've got some. This is their spacecraft, so it's not very big with the technician with it, okay? And Varda, I've got I'm just looking here if I can see where that company's from. I'm not going to say where it is for sure. So anyway, they actually bragged about, their co-founder bragged about space drugs have finished cooking, baby, he wrote on X, the former Twitter. All right. Unfortunately, these drugs can't come back to Earth. They wanted to come back actually, this was launched on a ride share by SpaceX in June, and it was going to come back in July. So they've been working on the paperwork since then. They thought they had it settled to re-enter September 5th or 6th, but the company's application was denied. You're denied an application to re-enter Earth's atmosphere? That's why we can't find any aliens, Marty, is they don't have the paperwork to enter us here. Well, here's this pharmaceutical company. And as I researched these companies that, are the tech companies wanting to do things in space, they all basically say the same thing. We're doing it for humankind, and we want to, save the Earth's environment and all great stuff like that, of course. But what's happened here is just 4 years ago, the pharma giant Merck revealed that an experiment on the International Space Station had shown how to make its blockbuster cancer drug Keytruda more stable. That meant it could now be administered via a shot rather than an IV infusion. Hey, I've seen a lot of ads for Keytruda on there. So this key discovery was the fact that the particles behave differently when freed from the force of gravity. Seeing how its drug crystallized in microgravity helped Merck figure out how to tweak its manufacturing process on Earth and produce the more stable version. And this is happening all down the line. Yes, Marty, a comment or question?
Yeah, Florida is located in Torrance, California.
Oh, thank you. Who
Where the
found that
headquarters-
out for us?
Yeah.
Did you dig that up?
Yeah.
Okay. What town?
Torrance.
Oh, okay. All right. Great. Out there in the Silicon Valley area up there. Well, so this is new breakthrough, of course, pioneered by astronauts from Skylab to the Russian Salyuts, and then the Mir space station, and now the International Space Station. Processing materials in gravity. Let me just explain what I've dug up in my book report. Is the effects of locked into a material, typically through crystallization, is changed. There's a polymorph, salt and co-crystal screening, formulation and drug production, development and manufacturing is changed in weightlessness. They've discovered and developed novel crystal morphologies and habits, and they're tuning particle size for distribution in space, and single crystal structure can be determined in space. So all these are breakthroughs to you out there that got degrees in pharmaceutical things, and who in our world today doesn't have a pharmacist that they have to get something from if you're over, say, 50 years old. So this is a huge thing going on. This tech company, there's their little stuck in space. I can hold it in my hand, basically. But and there's the name of the it's hoping to do this, land in a desert. And it's wanting to do this every week or frequently. Every time there's a ride share at SpaceX, that means that SpaceX has got extra room in their launch configuration underneath that fairing that they can throw for $150,000, will you put my satellite in space? Or maybe $1 million. These are the gentlemen that are involved in this. Will Brewery on the left, and Delian Asparavov on the right. And they are the founders of this company with Daniel Marshall. There it is, El Segundo, California. 70 plus employees. So it's just not these guys sitting around in their garage doing this stuff, all right? They've got some big portfolio investors, Lux Capital, Caffeinated Capital, General Catalyst. I mean, these are people that invested their money in there, and they're saying, what? The paperwork's not together for you guys to land? What's up with that? Well, I'll tell you what's up with that when I find those notes on it there. Is, yes, the FAA and all these other companies. There is an Office of Commercial and Space Transportation. Office of Commercial Space Transportation. They decide who is coming, who can launch and who can land. All right, just as simple as that. So commercial space operators are required for each launch site and or re-entry for a license and permit in accordance with 14 CFR parts 400 through 460. The FAA has 180 days to evaluate a complete license application. So they've got, almost a half a year. So this spacecraft launched in June, July, August, September. They're only halfway through this license application process, according to the FAA's days to do it there. So I didn't know that when I ran across this story and thought that it'd be interesting to share, because I was curious about all this paperwork that has to be done. I figured there's a lot to launch. Looking over it, Marty, it has a lot to do with airspace. And that airspace, you can't just say I'm coming down and it hit a 747 going to Los Angeles or something like that. So very, I was happy to hear that you just can't put something up and bring it back down without a lot of paperwork and a lot of government red tape and probably a few fee licenses along the way, I would say. Well, let's get to the big show this Sunday. And I don't mean the NASCAR race or NFL football. I mean that we're going to finally get in our hands part of a asteroid. Now, this will be the second or third time that pieces of an asteroid have been brought to Earth, or a comet, as Japan had their, let's see, Japan's spacecraft called, off the top of my head, I'm trying to remember it there. Can't. All right. I've got my notes here. So, OSIRIS-REx is returning to Earth by parachute, landing at the Air Force's Utah Test and Training Range. This will be 8:42 Mountain Time, so that's about 6:42 a.m. Sunday, September 24th. The sample will be handled immediately by NASA's Astromaterials Research and Exploration Science Directorate, called ARES, and Japan's Extraterrestrial Sample Curation Center is going to help, because Japan's Hayabasa 2 retrieved material from the asteroid Ryuga, and they brought that back in 2022 in Australia. So they set a precedence on how to handle this, and the OSIRIS-REx team was smart to get a hold of the JAXA team and learn from them. So they're working together. Asteroid sample material requests will be considered and distributed to organizations worldwide by NASA's Astromaterials Research and Exploration Science Directorate. So get your applications in now, folks. Here's the schematic of the thing. You've got a little container that you're going to see in some pictures. A long arm was on the spacecraft that actually blew air. It actually shot a bullet, is what it did, to make the impactor throw stuff up into the collector, and it chose 4 sites. So let's look at that. Here is the asteroid that it sampled. This is one of the craziest looking things in the solar system. It's 1,800 feet cube, basically. It's a cube, 1,800 feet. We're not sure why it got the sides on it and so forth. You can see it's so small and there's so little gravity. Look at these boulders just on the edge of it, ready to be just flicked off. So it was discovered in September 1999 with these telescopes that are called the Linear. They are looking for near-Earth asteroids, and they've categorized over 20,000 of them that could hit the Earth. In fact, this asteroid has a 1 in 1,800 chance of impacting Earth between 2178 and 2290, with the risk being greatest on September 24th, 2182. Can you believe that? 179 years from today, we could be hit by by this asteroid. But that ain't going to happen. Yeah, right. Bennu, Bennu, is the ancient Egyptian mythological bird associated with creation and rebirth. So this is why we've gone to this, is because this asteroid contains in it some of the pristine or time capsule stuff from the birth of the solar system. There's a close-up. Look at that. It just looks like he just took a pile of rocks out of a dump truck and just threw it there. Once again, 1,800 miles across. If you jumped off of it, you would never come back. That's one of the problems with how they got stuff off of this thing. Well, launched September 8th, 2016, just 10 miles away from Marty and me here at Cape Kennedy Space Center. He's actually on Cape Canaveral, I think, on Pad 40. Bennu rendezvoused with this asteroid in 2018. And it actually flew around it for 2 years, trying to figure out where it would take its samples. And so here's the sampling sites. It chose 4 areas to look up. And of course, they had analytical instruments on OSIRIS-REx to figure out where to go. But these are, you see the little puff, particularly in the Osprey one, that little circle area there, that's where the sample was taken out of. And what they did was they put the arm down, and as the arm touched the surface, it fired an impactor that threw stuff up into the capturing mechanism. And they had 4 different capturing mechanisms. There's the impact of it. There's a cool video on this. Just go to Wikipedia and you can see that. So, Marty, this is a picture of the collector and it didn't shut all the way because a rock was so big it held it open, and these are material that's flying out of it. Isn't that cool? So it had all these cameras around it to show what was going on. And one of the cameras, this is in space. This is between Mars and Jupiter. I failed to say that this asteroid is about from the Earth. It's probably about 50 million miles away. So it's between Mars, which on the average is 200 million miles from the sun, and Jupiter, that's almost a billion miles away from the sun. So then, so once that, and this is photographs taken in flight. On the left is the arm putting down the carrier. Looks like a slide tray for all of you that have used a Kodak ectographic over your careers in there. It looks like a slide tray, but that's got the 4 different types of material in it. They shut the lid. Everything went well. And they know that they got maybe almost a kilogram of sample, maybe 2 pounds, all right? And they know well in excess of 2 ounces is the minimum of the target mass. So this, and there's Bennu over there. This asteroid, again, has pristine carbonaceous material, a key element in organic molecules necessary for life, as well as a representative of material before the formation of the Earth. Organic molecules such as amino acids have previously been found in meteorite and comet samples, indicating that some ingredients necessary for life may be naturally synthesized in outer space. This mission cost $800 million of your taxpayer money, and we're hoping that this is the happy story Sunday morning. This is a real test of the spacecraft and parachute system over the Utah deserts a couple years ago. So with the Atlas V launch vehicle, it cost $183 million. So it's a $1 billion process to bring back maybe a pound of an asteroid that could really revolutionize planetary geologists what we know about these things. So, Marty, they're going to celebrate it with before it lands, the Postal Service has issued a stamp. And I'll look at that stamp. And I'm looking for something here. I forgot to pull. Let me see real quick. I am so embarrassed I don't have this. Okay, I think I have it here. Neptune. So thank you, Osiris Rex. I was looking for my Neptune notes. All right. Neptune was discovered tomorrow. The 8th planet was discovered September 23rd, 1846 by John Gall at the Berlin Observatory. It was mathematically figured to be there by English and French astronomers, but it was found by a German astronomer. So, and the 2 mathematicians, for those of you that love math, John Adams and George Airy. All right, John Adams was in France, and Airy was the astronomer royal. So in England. So this is this was a combination of astronomy, mathematics, and just some good hard looks at the sky in there. As we know, Uranus is the 5th and only planet that was discovered by human eyesight. William Herschel did that, and he saw it. This was confirmed by eyesight, all right. Neptune is about 2 billion miles from Earth, all right. It is the coldest place in our solar system. Now, it's colder than Pluto and beyond Pluto, the dwarf planet. And so we can look at it being discovered in 1846, all right? So that's 100, and I'm doing the math here, 183 years ago, it looks like, 73 years ago. No, 183. So anyway, about that time frame, 1846, okay, 20 years before the Civil War. You can look at it that way. So less than 200 years ago, we've not even had Neptune in our thinking. Named after the god of the seas, as was the tradition to name the planets after the classical Roman gods. And an interesting thing about Neptune, the Hubble telescope has discovered that the sun's 11-year solar cycle affects the output of energy on the cloud tops of Neptune 2 billion miles away. And this is a graph of the peaks of the solar cycle. All right. And you see Neptune from the Hubble has more activity in its cloud bands. That's what we're seeing here is actual clouds on Neptune. And it's the fastest clouds in the solar system, 1,700 miles an hour. And these features on the right was from Voyager 2 that flew by it in 1978. And on the left is the Hubble telescope's best views of it. And the Webb telescope has looked at it too. So 2 billion miles away, output of the sun's energy increases during this 11-year cycle that we're peaking at right now above my head. And so, yet people do not talk about global warming, and one of the contributors being the solar cycle. Our star is a big contributor with us nasty humans polluting our atmosphere to the global climate events going on today. So, proof that the sun gets hotter, it affects things even 2 billion miles away. And we know it gets hotter every 6 years, cools off in this 11-year cycle. So, Marty, thank you very much. We've got Cynthia Rossi watching today, Doug Forrest, Space Monkey, Dave Stange, Tom Usiak, Carlton Bailey, Cliff Watson, and Steve J are watching there. Is that the list you gave me? Was that yesterday's? Same people, basically. Yeah. So we're glad that you all enjoyed us today. Go check out this auction. There are some awesome things on this auction. Just hit the QR code. It'll take you right there. You could register. You don't have to register. If you register, you have to give your form of payment on there. But you can see it for free. And if you put your form of payment in there, you can start making bids. And bid till it hurts. Bid often. Bid again auctions there. And we're going to enjoy having talking more about that. And also our Galaxy of Giving, consider that to help our nonprofit do the things we love to do, like reach out to you. So, Marty, great job today, as usual. Thanks to loving privilege to have your son Jeff in here today. And thank you for promoting us. I know, Jeff, you talk about your dad and what he's doing down here in the Space Coast. And we always talk about Marty working on the lunar module and then those shuttle engines. And we've had a good time sharing that with you all out there. Stay curious. Well, that puts the wraps on episode 895. Thanks to you all wanting this program. Please tell people, if you like today's show, that we're doing it on YouTube. If you didn't like it, don't tell anybody, okay? But until next week, I'm Mark Marquette saying I can't wait to see you again to bridge the space between us.